This is Adam Bernstein. I'm the director of this episode.
I'm Peter Gould. I'm the co-writer along with the brilliant Sam Catlin of this episode.
Hi, Bryan Cranston playing Walter White.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Banks. I'm one of the actors in the episode.
And I'm Bill Powloski. I'm the visual effects supervisor.
And this is Mike Slovis. I'm the director of photography.
So this is all shot at the Crossroads Motel, which is right where 40 meets 25 in Albuquerque. And I think this is actually a meth hotel, as far as I can tell. And actually, I think when we were scouting this, we saw a prostitute and her happy customer come out of one of the rooms. And the other thing is, while we were shooting this is a great actress. Julie is a local actress who's actually, I think, mostly a soccer mom, but is fantastic in this part. And she was actually offered some business when she was just standing out front. I think on the day when Vince was doing the time-lapse shots.
She was a very good sport. She's also she's a triathlete.
Yeah, exactly.
You could tell.
And this stuff was actually shot with a still camera, right, Adam?
Now this
There's
sequence
one of
here.
her competitions there. She's very good at oral sex. What are the other two of the triathlon?
Now, when we were shooting this stuff, Pete was concerned that we were shooting too many blowjobs, and I didn't use it in my cut. But when Vince, did the final edit, the one thing he changed was to put in as many blowjobs as possible, and he said his rationale is that he wanted to beat out the Golden Girls for most on-screen blowjobs.
I still can't believe this made it on the air.
I got to tell you, this is one of the most fascinating and extremely effective openings I think we've ever had on our show, but any show I've ever seen. That's really a smart, fantastic job you guys did on this.
The other great thing is that she's carrying burgers from Blake's Lottaburger, which is a local chain that didn't mind being used in this context. Did I violate a legal thing?
No, it's good.
Right.
And this is also it was a very dense, we just kind of talked through it. It's a very dense sequence. There's a lot going on there.
We get product placement money from Blake's Lottaburger for that.
Is Blake's a union shop?
I think we get 4-second meals.
You know, one of the things that someone said, what's the theme song to Breaking Bad? And I went, is there one? It's like, dong, 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 dong.
I think you need to come up with some lyrics.
Yeah.
And, this is always fun to see you guys working together, you and RJ.
Oh, yeah?
And, of course, this is a callback to season 2, when you don't like the way he's driving with 2 feet.
Right. I mean, Walter White is that man of science, and everything has a specific purpose, and you should do things the right way. Just like he makes the most pristine, recipe for crystal meth, so too shall you should drive the car the right way.
I looked it up.
But this is important because now we see Walter White changing, letting some things go, holding fast to others.
Yeah, it's an interesting episode because Walt is really kind of tamped down through most of this.
Right, you guys kept him intentionally a little bit passive until the end.
Well, I think as we go, we'll talk about it, but there are moments in this episode when I want to yell at the screen, Walt, come on! Where's Heisenberg?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember talking to Vince about that, and he said specifically we want to kind of hide him away until the last moments of episode 13.
The baby was not cooperative.
We always get a laugh when Skyler's looking up money laundering in Wikipedia. Wikipedia allowed us to use them.
That's nice.
All right, here you go. All right.
Now this house in Albuquerque has regular visitors coming to the neighborhood to see it and take pictures of it. Do you know that?
Does Fran like that? Fran, the owner? Fran, she's happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a whole Flickr group with people who've taken pictures of themselves in front of the White House.
Yeah.
Well, also there are couples that go to the Crossroads Motel because I heard it's the Breaking Bad motel for romantic getaways.
I don't find it romantic.
You don't? You stayed there, though.
Well, it's yes. Well, that's where the production puts us up, of course.
Have you thought any more about?
Oh, so this is where Skyler wants to get in on the action, right? This is the big turn for her.
So show me the flaws.
Yes, they're discussing the concept of the car wash. And I just love how you guys play off each other. This for me, this part of the season is very rewarding because earlier in the season, Skyler and Walt are so far apart, and here there's a little. You start seeing a little bit of a spark as you guys kind of pass the baton back and forth.
Yeah, and the idea of having her starting to turn to get interested in this line of work.
That is a story an auditor can
That's an interesting. That must have been an interesting discussion in the writers' room.
Oh, we struggled. But that was one of the great challenges of the season was what's going to happen to Skyler? How is she part of the show? And it's still a concern, but it really, that was the first half of the season. That was one of the things that we were really most thinking about the most.
Starts shoveling money at me, and when the police come, I'm supposed to say, "Gee, I never thought about
The device of using
that in your mind,
Hank's
deniability."
need for recovery then gave a justification for her to say, I'll accept this part. And once she tasted that and what that money could do and go to good use, that was sort of her whistle, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It's as the season ends. Oh, and there's Sam Catlin, of course, the other writer on the show.
He got top billing, I noticed.
It's alphabetical.
How did you get top billing?
It's alphabetical.
Is it?
It's all alphabetical. Yeah, I'm going to change my name to Peter Gould.
Yeah.
AAA.
Plot, though. Why would your estranged husband be doing all this for you?
Oh, now, see,
yeah.
here's Walter negotiating.
Trying to get some leverage.
His family.
And I love the staging too. The way the movement kind of reflects what's going on between these two. And Michael, of course, is somehow magically Skyler is backlit here.
Everyone's backlit all the time. How does that work, Slovis? Like, no matter where you look?
No. We've got connections.
Husband. Maybe if he were...
Of course, there's no backlight on me because look at the glow of the beautiful blonde.
Hairlight.
Yeah.
You need a scalp light.
And the old wrinkled guy with the bald head, he doesn't get anything. And Jonathan Banks knows what I'm talking about that.
Yes, indeed.
So now we're on the fake location.
That's right. This
That
is
was our big hat trick. Is that we didn't have enough time to shoot the whole scene at the actual location, so we finished it on a set.
5 nights
Which I think, Pete, did you notice that?
It
when
works.
you watched it?
It works beautifully.
Yeah, we shot this in January.
Yeah.
Adam, do we?
Yeah.
I think so. So the sun goes down quite early, as you know, and we ran out of light, so we had to do this. This is actually the part of the set on stage at Albuquerque Studios.
How do you make it match so well, Michael? What do you do?
We mimic the lighting, but we use this doorway every time, more often when we have people entering and exiting the house. I mean, that's what we really use it for. Very rarely for an entire scene like that.
But the actual entranceway of the house is, we're in the super lab.
Oh. Of course, that was one of our tricksy shots. Looking up inside the canister.
Indeed,
Unusual perspective.
and the dam that they had to protect the cameras from the liquids coming down overflowed on that, and the entire camera crew went running out from underneath this thing because the water was spilling all over them.
On this one?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I wasn't there when you got shot.
It's like, as I recall, it was sort of a 3-ring circus. There's people shooting pretty much everywhere.
I was there.
Those costumes, by the way, make us look like peeps, like little Easter peeps.
Bryan, did you talk about in any of the commentaries how the costumes changed? Those costumes were different at the beginning of the season?
No, I didn't. They were too noisy, if I recall correctly. And also there was something about it, they didn't breathe, and they're still not the greatest for that. But they get awfully warm underneath those things, so we try not to be zipped up tight.
It's interesting because on set they look very different. They look more like track suits because they're a little bit shiny.
Yeah,
but on film they read great.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely shinier than the ones that we used earlier on in the show.
This scene was a big surprise to me when we got there.
Oh,
because
you
the
were so
ceiling-
disappointed.
I was looking for any reason
This is a
to
restaurant.
move this scene.
Well, this is a restaurant called Paul's Monterey. We wanted to get like a really retro kind of red rawhide type place, and it was a fantastic location. But the ceilings were so low, which
They're
is
at
what
about 7.5 feet. You can see them in all the wide shots.
every DP hates that. But Mike Slovis somehow figured out how to light this scene
Shot combo.
under those circumstances.
He's a miracle worker.
These two scumbags.
And then at some point we'll get to our favorite thing, which is we go to the other side of the booth.
Oh, he's not the first.
Yeah.
Unless it's not there
Where the wall
anymore.
should be.
Where the wall should be. We put the camera where the wall should be.
You know, directors are caring less and less about crossing over on the line. Was that a consideration for you, Adam, when you were thinking about this?
No, I always feel like if there's two people just sort of parked talking to each other, everyone knows where they are. You know, and I always feel if you jump around the other side of the line, which means that if you draw a line between these two people, the camera goes on the other side.
Yeah, for
where it
instance, Aaron is looking
left to right.
to the right of the camera.
Oh, we
There
just
it is.
crossed
There
the
it is.
line.
We
There it
crossed
is.
on the other side.
And you are magically backlit in that direction as well.
That's true. This is a violation here.
That's pretty.
Although
The editor didn't want
because,
to use this shot at the beginning.
well,
She
although
refused.
Oh, really?
She
in-
said,
in
I crossed
current-
the line.
in current filmmaking, though, it's become acceptable. I mean, 10 years ago, if you would have cut to this, it would have been very jarring.
But you can even look at Casablanca, they crossed the line. And that big scene on the tarmac at the end, they pop around a little bit.
I haven't seen it. Is that a good movie?
Yeah, it's all right.
The way it
Scott Ingrid Bergman, she's from Sweden.
Is it
But
still
that was
out
in the
theaters?
fog. There is no line in the fog.
The way it works for me on the crossing the line is it changes the emotional tone. You feel something, even if you're not really watching.
I know,
where the
that's
line
right.
is. You start feeling that the emotion has
It's
somehow
different. Yeah,
changed.
that's a good point.
It's a coverage freshener.
Now we're back on the other side of the line that we were before. So you'll notice that he's looking to the right of camera at me, and I'm looking to the left of camera at him.
Oh,
And then that's what you're generally you're supposed to stay on one line
Right.
or the other, whichever line you choose.
But if you jump around, the audience, sometimes they just feel something's different. They don't really.
And I agree with you. As long as you've established the geography, we know where we are, so it's not confusing.
But you can also use it to effect. If you want to jar the audience, it's a great tool to use.
Exactly. And also, if the scene's shifting gears, you're changing subjects, sometimes it's nice to shake it up like that. That's in my book, Dynamic Blocking for Television. It's like change of subject, change of coverage.
You know what? I love that book.
Thank you,
I have it
Brian.
right next to my bed, and any time I can't get to sleep, I just.
I noticed you had it next to your chair when you were directing.
Oh,
You had my book.
fantastic.
Which was nice.
That's what you said.
Aaron Paul does such a great job in this episode, and in all the episodes, but this one, it was really a wonderful challenge for him, and he really had a nice, varying performance.
I don't know. Whenever you two guys are together in a scene,
because this is an extremely long scene. You know, when
say that, Pete.
when you're writing and you see. Well,
saying it was overwritten?
No, it plays
saying-
beautifully. It plays beautifully, and
saying Apple X, Pete. No, go ahead.
never mind. It's a long scene, and it plays beautifully. I find it fascinating.
Was there a lift? Did any dialogue end up ever getting taken out in the final version of it? Or was it?
I do not believe so. But it's because you guys create such a dynamic. You know, some parts just the attack on it. Some of it is loud. Some of it's very got a great push to it, and some of it hangs back a little bit. And it's one of the things that it's musical, really. What you guys do with the dialogue.
I know this scene is still going on.
Yes.
I've run out of things to say about this scene.
But
I'm
Adam,
so over
Adam,
this scene. By now.
Well, you know, though, I'll tell you why it's. I'll tell you. Speaking from the writers' room, why it's an important scene. You have to believe. You have to believe that there's no alternative but murder. You know, this is really, in order for these two characters to get to where they're going in this episode, they have to explore all their options.
Right, and you had to sort of put out all the little logical fires about it.
Yeah, and he leaves determined, and I'm worried, and he can't see the logic in my argument.
I love the little fireplace.
Where the hell is Heisenberg?
There's the fireplace. What?
Adam, it's also a testament to just letting great actors do their work. It's very simply recorded, and let them do their work, which is great.
Oh, knock knock rummy.
And
This is very funny.
I love Betsy's humming at the beginning of this scene. It's the humming that's just driving Hank batty.
I should tell her. I got to tell her. She can make some money on that.
That's right.
Well, I like saying it.
She is hilarious.
Knock, knock. You don't knock, knock. You just knock.
This is a tough. This part of the season was really tough for these characters because these are usually Hank and Marie are two of our lighter characters, and they go to such a dark place. And one of the things I'm really proud of is that we didn't have him instantly recover from this, these horrible wounds that he suffered. But it still put us in a situation where we've taken two of our characters who usually bring the light to the show, and they're in a very dark place. So I was really happy the turn that takes place between these two
At the end.
Yeah.
And still, when season 4 starts, I imagine that the physical and emotional trauma that he suffered is going to continue to some degree.
If
I just looked over to Peter and he shrugged I'm not going to tell
if we pick up where we left off.
Yeah. We may not. You see, this is interesting because we are in between 3rd season and 4th season of Breaking Bad. And I don't know what's going to happen when we start up. The actors are left in the dark.
Not for long. We have to figure it out first. And this
Saul Goodman's office.
Call me, Bryan. I'll let you know what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
So, Michael, I want to ask you something. When you come back to a location like this, and you've shot this set many times, do you have a system for lighting this particular location, or are you thinking about the emotional tone of this particular scene?
Let's wait there.
Can I speak for Mike?
No.
Sure. Please do.
I find that when we get to this set, Mike's usually at the craft service table. And his gaffer is working very hard to light the scene.
You bastard.
In Breaking Bad, we always set up shots and light to the emotions. We really do. I mean, there's probably very few lawyers' offices that are lit in this nice, warm, colored light and very moody like this. But it's usually the story that we like to hear. And I love the coloration of this. I take a lead off of the art director's palette for the sets. So this has got a lot of green and a lot of yellow in it, and I sort of follow suit.
You want your criminal associate taken into police
And then
custody?
I go to craft surface.
This plan that Walt pitches here of getting Jesse arrested for something, this was very tough. We struggled for a long time figuring out what Walt's move could be. And
You mean what
he could possibly want to happen now that Jesse has basically said that he's going to murder these guys. How is he going to stop?
How's he going to neutralize?
How's he going to stop Jesse? And this is
I didn't flinch when I read this. I thought it was he's racking his brain to think of some way to prevent him from making this huge mistake, and I thought, wait a minute, that's not a bad idea, and so he explored it. I thought it was good.
And Bryan, how much fun is it to sit across from Bob and do this kind of stuff? I mean,
Yeah. Bob Odenkirk, playing Saul Goodman, has brought a very justifiably light tone. You were talking about the light tones generally were with Dean Norris and Betsy Brandt. And that's true. And now Bob Odenkirk can bring this character to life. And while the other characters like Jesse and Walt are angst-ridden with anxiety about what they're going to do and if they're going to stay alive, Bob justifiably brings this, devil-may-care kind of thing, and he's just a mover and a shaker. This is what he does.
he's just not as emotionally invested.
Back at the crossroads.
Back at the crossroads. Was there a green neon light outside? Or
no, this is something we started in season 2. And I just carried it across so that there's sort of a callback to that.
But you lit the screen. It was green on the day.
It was not. I lit the screen. The windows are not naturally green. I just thought it really worked for the story and for this character.
She did such. I mean, she's really not a full-time actress, and she does such an amazing job in this scene.
What's his name?
And Michael, as I recall, this is actually not the same hotel room that we used in season 2.
This is a floor down.
You would. I wouldn't have known.
That's right.
I would not have known.
Yeah,
This is
it's
the floor
the
down.
floor below us. Yeah, that's exactly right.
For ease of use. But Slovis, the reds, you do that in the color correction? Like you leave everything alone, everything goes away except for the reds? Did you pop those out?
Everything is intentional in this show, so each color is dealt with individually. We kept it monochromatic except for those reds, and the wonderful art and the wonderful wardrobe also. We work all together so that everything is intentional, and she just stands out in this kind of green light.
This is the amazing thing about this show is the first time I worked on it, there's not just a color palette, but there's a color palette which is laid out on a timeline so that each character is associated with a color, and those colors actually evolve as the season evolves.
Kathleen Del Toro, is our designer, wardrobe designer, and she does a terrific job.
It looks like they blued up the meth there a little bit. Just for
here
that
comes the
shot.
Banksy scene.
The baby.
Yeah. This wasn't easy either. Every time you put it's crying.
Bryan, you should say what
baby's-
happens every time they bring the baby into the set.
Yeah.
Everybody's
The
gotta-
baby's mother is right off screen to the left.
Right.
And we get the baby for how long?
Like an hour. I don't know. There's two. We sort of designed it so the baby gets kind of. The writers were very conscious of so we can get the baby into the crib for most of the scene. But there was a version of this scene, which Peter, I think you might have been the only person to see it. Is that when Banks drops the big bomb, we cut to the baby falling over in the crib.
Stop it.
But having said all that, this is a really different scene for Mike, isn't it, Jonathan?
Well, and just another lighthearted character. No, that's me, and at last, here I am.
We've been waiting.
I thought if I was going to say anything about this character, it was that I thought, Mike is probably 97% sure of what he does. It's the 3% of angst and bewilderment that cause him it's a bitch. It's a bitch.
I love the juxtaposition between you and what you do and your granddaughter and that the time that you spend with her and truly enjoying her company, and then you go kill someone. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
This speech, by the way, was really well written, but your delivery on it, I can't even joke about it. It was so fantastic. I was captivated to a point where I think a couple times I forgot that I was supposed to respond in some way, and I was like, oh my God.
It was astounding.
Yeah, you were really terrific.
Because I think we did a couple passes in each of these angles, and every time Jonathan Banks was so perfect. It was actually maybe the easiest or the hardest scene to edit because you could go anywhere at any time, and he was just giving this amazing performance. And I think we just ended up just gradually creeping in closer and closer and closer as it went on.
And this is, by the way, written by Sam Catlin.
And you.
Well,
Hey,
this particular speech was Sam's, I have to say.
If you pull way back on this shot, which Michael didn't, but we look very much. We look like we're out of the same litter, for God's sakes.
It's a bald men's meeting.
I have great affection for bald men, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Because I are one.
That's right. I'm not just a client.
There's less
I
and
own the company.
There's less and less hair on this show.
I know there's like.
But Michael, it's interesting because he's the one guy that knows everything about everybody.
That's absolutely true.
And, he goes between all these worlds and he knows all the dirty little secrets.
I love this character, by the way. It's just a pleasure to do.
Yeah, it really is. It's dynamic because in his calm exterior lies a calm interior. But beneath that is this when Walt finds out that Mike is working for Gus?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
This is that moment, yeah.
Yeah. My partner's out sick, and it's just me. And the call comes in, and it's...
And I gotta say, in a general sense, this is what makes Breaking Bad such a delight to be a part of, is because you see speeches like this that have the courage to take time to break the normal patterns or rhythms that you see on most television shows that have to be quickly edited and just get to it, get the information out, and get out of it. But they have the courage to be able to do that. You guys writing this?
Listen, you know what? I'm going to tell you. After doing this for over 40 years, the general rule in television is if the camera didn't fall over, then you print it. And Bryan and I talked about this before. Just letting the camera rest, let it be on the actor for a little bit. And you know what? Sometimes it'll work out quite well for you.
Mm-hmm.
But also in this show, we also pay a lot of attention to people listening, and it's because half the job there is the actor that's listening to what's going on.
I think the best part of the scene is the actor who's listening.
Well, look at that.
See that listening?
Look at that listening. Look at that listening. Ooh.
I stayed up all night working on my listening face.
But I do think there's something when you just, if you let a take really breathe out without cutting for a long time, the audience just starts getting pulled into it because they're expecting the cut.
Just a warning.
Well, you're really wondering what does Walt think of this?
Of course.
Is Walt getting the message?
Just trying to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. See, that's so good. I just want to watch myself.
No, but John, what you were saying, I think is true. Is that Adam didn't have a lot. There's no trickery to this setups. There's no wild movement. The camera's handheld because that's the Breaking Bad style.
You know what? Excuse me for interrupting. Before we go away from this, though, you and I talk about, because between us, we have a few years doing this, and without being just sappy and sentimental about the whole thing, just to be grateful as an actor to be a part of this and be proud of it. It feels good. It just feels good.
Well, you've contributed tremendously. You're an important part of the show now. Mm-hmm.
More half measures, Walter.
We're going to miss you in season 4.
Yeah. No, they haven't let you know, obviously, about the new Mike show, have they?
Spin-off.
Just Mike.
Just Mike. Just plain Mike.
That's what it's called, Just Mike. And
we're back at we call this Combo's Corner because season 1, this is where he was.
Season 2, that's right. This is where Combo was.
Season 2.
Combo was shot.
Gunned down.
And of course, Jesse still has his sobriety medal up there.
Mm-hmm.
Blake's,
which now with poison.
Blake's Methyl burgers.
With or without.
No,
that's the special sauce.
We really appreciate the fact that a local company would let us use their
poison
product
burgers
like this.
with that.
Very appreciative. Actually, it lends authenticity to the story.
Take a walk.
This is a scary scene.
And the handheld is an interesting thing, too, because the entire show is handheld, when we do go onto a tripod or onto a dolly and the camera becomes less moving, you really notice it.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be used to our advantage as well.
On specific occasions when it needs to convey a certain mood, yeah.
Exactly.
So Jesse is certain that he's cooked at this point.
Yes.
This guy's Jeremiah. He's an interesting guy. He's a contractor.
Victor, yeah.
Really?
In Navajo.
Where are we going?
And isn't that Russell Means' cousin? Is it Russell Means or Dennis Banks? One of the two. Whoever. I know who they are.
Russell Means is a Native American
activist.
Actor, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tell us about this location.
This is an actual poultry processing plant, right? Is it out of business, though?
It's
It
an
still
old
smells.
egg factory.
Oh, it's an egg factory.
Egg factory.
Yeah.
What's the
But it
difference?
still has bad odors.
It's defunct now. It's not operative.
Although, when it rains, apparently.
Oh yeah, you could still smell it.
Which it does every time we go to shoot there.
The
It's
years
very
and
interesting.
years.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
We
but-
smelled it that night when we were shooting the interior.
If you kick away the dirt and stuff, there are plastic bags and things that come out of the ground.
And in fact, as I recall, it might have been this day that Michael, you were feeling a little sick.
Oh, you're feeling terrible this day, Mike. But you butched it out.
Yes. We were all worried.
I think there were several people on the crew for some reason this day that had to go home early or something.
And yet,
wasn't there?
And yet,
I did not leave.
And yet, and yet we went.
Stayed at your post.
And yet we went to see Avatar.
Yeah, this is the night you guys went to see Avatar.
That's right. We went to see Avatar that night.
This scene.
Again, we had to shoot this, except for the entrance to the door, everything was at night. That's why the shades are down. We ran out of daylight.
In this big, spacious double wide.
Yeah.
The guy on the right is so fantastic.
We
Ian Posada.
They're both great.
Is that Ian? No, it's Mike Seal is great, but the other guys actually, I think, might have been a member of.
Well, this direction we actually had day out. You can see out the window there.
Right.
In this
I think we had
direction.
one
Yeah, we
direction
probably
of
lost
day.
the light
Yeah.
between the two directions.
This is a sequence that I find very impressive on so many levels. One of the things is pure listening, because this is a scene that really is about Walt not stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
Walt hardly says anything. Does he? Do you have any dialogue at all here?
But my listening, once again, is
Yes.
very impressive.
Yes, but again, we're like, Heisenberg.
Now,
Where's Heisenberg?
Where's he gonna? Yeah.
And these guys are wonderful. And it's also when you have more characters in the scene, you end up doing a lot more coverage. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, the more characters you add, the more.
And again, here we have another addition to our cast, Giancarlo Esposito, who is terrific. Each one, what's so great about it, they're not just added, but they're specifically designed characters with their own life. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And one of the great things about television, one of the things I love about it, is that you can cast somebody and you can start learning about the character from watching the actor, and kind of building from there, as opposed to just having the whole thing trying to impose something on the situation.
I would be dealing with this in a very different way.
That's a good point, Peter. In the writer's room, do you guys go, Jesse wouldn't say this, or this is not in Jesse's voice, this is not in Walt's voice?
Oh, yeah.
When you're writing, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we're always thinking about, I mean, it's one of the big questions at the beginning of every episode is especially, where's Walt's head at? Because we have one of the most unusual things, I think, in television, which is a main character who's constantly changing. You know, he's a study in change. And so you really...
there's
there you go.
Competitive listening.
There you go.
While your listening is adequate, just that mere glimpse there is listening. Thank you.
As far as
You're joking, but that tells you everything.
you get the
Brian,
listening,
there you are.
the
Brian's
listening,
in
the
middle of
listening
that
Emmy
shot.
goes to Jonathan Banks.
Well,
No, look at that. Look at that.
Look at that listening.
I love this. Mouth agape listening.
No, it's...
The season 4 scripts are going to have no dialogue. Everybody's listening.
Everyone is off camera at all times.
I'm always the one arguing for scenes with less dialogue. And I'm a writer.
But more listening.
More listening, less dialogue. Just listening.
Did you see the door opening there?
Yeah, but you're a lackey.
Look at that. Well, I let the light in. I let the light in, for God.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
The big guy in the taller of the two
That's
is
Mike Seal.
Yeah, Mike is a
Ultimate fighter.
fighting champion guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bad dude.
Understand?
But this guy, Antonio, on the other side, he was so... We'll get to that scene at the end, but we were shooting that scene all night in sub-zero temperature.
It was very... Oh, my God.
And he
it
had
was
to
cold.
lay underneath the Aztec
Yeah.
for about an hour with his hand sticking out.
Yeah.
I remember there were times when where Adam would yell cut and we would start moving on and he'd still be laying there. I'd walk over
I know,
and
we
go,
forget
"We've
about
cut,
it."
you
He's
can
like-
come out now.
Isn't that every actor's dream?
Oh, he was unbelievable. But we
Yeah.
actually had to dig a ditch under the car so he could be under there. But then in between takes, he would just go over and like look at the storyboards. He was a pretty nice guy.
Well, your storyboards are pretty special.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Adam puts storyboards a lot of these scenes, and they're actually posted for the whole crew to see. And So everyone gets to watch them crossed off one at a
Yeah,
time.
not so much to know what we're doing, but to see them being crossed
to
off,
create
to know
the-
how soon we're going home.
Where are we in the day?
It was to create the illusion that we know what
Do you
we're doing.
storyboard every scene that you do, or?
I don't story dialogue. It's only scenes that are kind of actiony if there's a lot of stuff going on
Okay.
to make the appearance of a plan.
And I love how the focus stays on
Short.
Jesse here. It's just
Well,
short focus.
That was
The
that.
camera guys know where to go.
Well, again, it's about the one who's listening.
You could.
Walt is a little bit tormented here. He's trying to convince himself, I think, that he's done the right thing.
Yeah.
Bryan, is this one of the few times we're on a camera car?
This was
might
a
be.
self-drive.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I was driving this.
We,
Yeah.
we rigged it. It was a hostess tray. Mike.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we self-drove it.
I believe it was a camera car earlier with Walt Jr.
Yes.
Hostess tray is basically a plate that goes on the outside of one of the doors that the camera will sit on, and it's strapped down tightly, of course, so it won't fall off. And then the actor drives it himself, drives the car.
And these
Oh,
sneakers.
Bryan,
We're hoping
Adam,
you're going to remember the
trying to get this
sneakers.
kid to come in time-wise. We tried that a bunch of times.
Well, we really wanted to plant him as a visual presence, and especially those sneakers, to help set up the scene that ends this act. I think it's this act.
This is an interesting scene.
Isn't this the one where we were
I
setting
don't mean to
up?
break the conversation there, but this is an
Interesting scene.
This is a scene that's worthy of some commentary.
Oh, there's not much listening going on.
Oh, there will be.
Maybe listing.
This is what the film scholars call off-screen space.
What's going on here?
Listing.
Now, I was very panicked about this scene
Were you?
because we didn't, her hand wasn't, it was like a few inches maybe lower than it should have been. But Dean kept on saying like, well, that's, that makes sense with me.
What really helped is that Dean Norris is so small that
That her hand could be safely
can be
away
safely
from the,
away at any angle.
Yeah.
What if someone comes in? Let him. I don't care if someone walks in. What's wrong?
It's really a suspense scene.
But Adam, he did really work up to this for a couple days, I remember.
It's not gonna happen. I'm sorry.
I'm betting it will.
There.
And if
It's nicely done,
you check out
especially the slam cut two.
Oh, coming out. With
Yeah,
his
coming
little-
out of it.
It's no bet.
The punchline.
you're afraid you'll
I think we did a couple different versions of
You're just being foolish.
her winning the bet.
Mm-hmm.
His eyes rolling in the top of his head. I think where did we land? Somewhere in the middle, right? In terms of
I think there was a squirt gun filled with condensed milk.
that was
you
a
were using.
Hudson pump.
That's right.
Sorry.
Wow.
You know what? If it'll get you out of here quicker, you got 1 minute.
1 minute? All right, that's a cakewalk.
Yeah, this is.
This is where she was two-handed. that was Betsy. That was her innovation. Was the two-handed
Yes.
grip.
Well, look at that face on her.
Just like milking a cow.
She's so cute.
She is. She's adorable.
She really is. And of course,
And Peter, it works. Here he goes.
Michael.
I was going to say, of course, it works because they are cute together.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what makes the whole thing
Yes.
work so extremely well.
Yes. And it was, of course, that's I believe that's it for them for the season. So that was,
Yeah.
we wanted to make sure
Go
we
out with a bang.
Go out with a bang. There you go.
All right.
But it's also important to know that they are committed to each other. I mean, that's an important part of the story.
Well, their marriage is so strong, and
Right.
it's really it's one of the things I think gives contrast to all the tumult that's been going on at the White House.
This girl was
Emily
she's
Reed
so
wonderful.
is so wonderful
Yes.
and beautiful.
Yeah.
A terrific actress.
Mike, was this the smallest set you've ever shot?
Yes,
His bedroom?
This is by Vince's declaration. Also, I want it
Small.
8 by 8 by 8, and that's it.
It was small.
So small we couldn't get any lighting into there.
And we wanted to make sure to feature her little boy in this scene, so the next scene would be clear.
That it
It's
was
not
the other
that
little
That it's
boy.
not
It's
that
the
little
brother.
boy. Yeah, that was...
And this, I feel my style was informed by my experience on Law & Order episode 365. I couldn't have done this without that background.
And you see the blue flashing light. That's a throwback
But this
to
was
3
interesting.
seasons of CSI.
CSI, all your CSI work.
So they had the right two guys doing this.
But Pete, you wrote this originally. I was interested because I remember we had a discussion. You wrote it as one shot in the script, but then we ended up making a little more of a salad out of it.
Yep.
And then Pete Rainier was grabbing all kinds of little bits and pieces. Which
That's
was
right.
Hey, it's me.
As he usually is. Necessary to the show.
Super lab.
Pete Rainier is our camera, one of our camera operators, who also doubles as a director of photography.
That's right. Our signature
Yeah.
time lapse.
You want to talk about this a little bit? That
Which is
time
interesting
lapse?
because we do it with a still camera.
Oh, that might or Union. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I mean, we still do it with a camera.
With a camera. Shot that with a.
We were so happy when we got this this piece from Jeopardy.
By the way, Alex is a huge fan of the show. Alex Trebek loves the show. Or I should say, who is Alex Trebek?
Now, early in this season doesn't Gale give you a book? I believe he does. Does he give you Leaves of Grass or?
Did he give me a book? I don't remember.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Maybe it's.
Oh, I guess we had tried that steam transition, Pete, right? But there was so much steam coming out of the pasta, it looked like it was too steamy.
Now, this is also on our house set.
I love this because of the mirror.
Yeah, they set up those mirrors gimbal so that we keep the camera crew out of the shot.
Or we get 2 Bryans if we want them.
There you go.
Yeah, double Bryan.
There's actually another actor in the background there.
Yeah.
You see, that's actually Brian's double. Because as everybody knows, you can't shoot into mirrors. It's impossible.
But what Bryan was saying is that those mirrors swing on 2 axes so that we can get exactly the reflection that we want.
Yeah, I'll get it.
Might just be the beginning of an early cold snap. But first,
Here's where you get the news about the kid.
the murder of a young boy in the South Valley. Police have yet to release a statement, but sources indicate that 11-year-old Tomas Cantillo
Just when the family starts coming together.
Starts coming together.
Yes. And now, what is Walt going to do? You know, he's got the pieces and he knows what Jesse's going to do. And there's some listening for you.
Oh, man.
That's one of the tropes of this. The person speaking is never in focus.
Brilliant.
And you're fired.
Talking about that all day, and it's just.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
We very rarely have happy meals.
Yes, yes. Very rarely complete a meal. And of course, Skyler here is talking about the car wash, I believe.
Right, and she's going on, and Walt's just freaked.
And this is one of those little Dave Porter cues, our composer Dave Porter, adding a very small cue that really makes the scene
It was also
click together.
It was also a great cut because that scene went from me saying, "Excuse me, I have to go," and I got up from the table and walked all the way to the door, opened the door, then said,
Just jumped.
That jump was great.
So this stuff we all shot in the playground the night before.
I thought this was gold.
And that's a piece of bent plastic in front of the lens, right?
And that's in a studio right there.
That's in a
That-
studio. Yeah.
No, that was location.
Which was the we did the studio piece.
The studio piece was the reflection on the CD of when he snorts the meth at the beginning. But then when he gets high, I think
we're in the playground.
Bent plastic. What do you mean bent plastic?
Like the camera department burned some plexiglass with a torch so it would just distort. It was a
Warp,
very
yeah.
expensive piece of equipment. that we put in front.
And this is back at Combo's Corner.
Combo's Corner. And this we had to shoot all night in January.
It
was so cold.
So cold.
And
so
lighting up that building, which
Oh
is
my
huge
God.
in the background, took our pre-rig guys, a
Right.
day and a half to do all that background.
And I gave you a bigger shot on the Scout, and then you were furious with me.
This
when
is
the
a,
shot was small. Studio.
I am
there.
never furious with you.
I think with the wind chill, it was down to about 14, 16, something like in that range.
I was wearing a Carhartt full body inclement weather
I
suit.
stayed for a lot of it.
You stayed for about 10 minutes. You were there.
I had to catch a plane.
This is just
I-
great stuff.
And this also, you're over cranking a little bit, so this is we're getting
Yeah.
a slight slow motion.
His close-up, I think, is at 30 frames.
Yeah, thank you for that.
That's 30.
We were thinking about Sergio Leone here, our version of a slow build up.
And those jump cuts right there.
Yeah.
Same idea.
Mm-hmm. And again, the short focus.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of this scene, even though I wasn't there. It's just so, I can't tell you how thrilling it is to write some of these scenes and then have them realized this way. And of course,
That's a highlight, not a flare.
coming up, we've got Bill's shot.
My
They
8-second
come.
shot.
Yeah.
Is it 8 seconds?
8 might be generous. It might not be that long.
And
Ouch.
Oh, jeez.
All right, Bill.
Still.
Those actors were so brave. To do
what are
that.
Bill, what are we seeing?
Right as the car hits the actors, they become digital stuntmen. And we had them flip over the car, and we're using simulation to get the right gravity and everything else for the bodies.
And the blood coming out of his head, you did
and
that
then,
too, right?
Then adding the blood coming out. But we did a lot of it practically, as much as we could on set, and then just had the...
Bill, I have to tell you, even though I shot the scene, when I saw it, I jumped. It was amazing.
I jumped.
I jumped.
I jumped.
I have to say, I think this might be my favorite end of an episode.
Run.
Certainly of the episodes that I've worked on the show. I just think it just promises so much.
Hey, thanks very much. We're glad to share this with you. And we'll until the next commentary. Take care.
Can we keep talking for a while?
You can,
With
but
the
it won't
black-
be on the air.
Okay.